Watch me bring the energy, building intensity. I feel surging with adrenaline when enemies are testing me. I am the master of thrones, I hear the beating drum. I summon armies calmly, it's honest running, we're coming strong. We're all powerful, power is the ingredient. Obedient, submissive is what you need, it's immediate. We're all rising, I'm proud of it, lighting fires and dreams. I feel the beat and the freedom, this freedom's worth it to me. Adrenaline. I believe it, I had my dream and achieved it. I'm a leader of freedom. They locked us down, but I freed them. No way, don't say, I feel no fear, don't pray. I take the venom that's in them and turn it into rain. I got the energy, give me some more adrenaline running through my veins. It's in my chemistry, it's intelligent. Supernova, we're glowing, so take a photo and focus. When our composure is growing, we're getting stronger, it's over.
As we reach the end of July, today, the top pro open-wheel racing hopefuls hope to answer a simple question. Can they solve the mystery of the Tricky Triangle? This is round 4 of the GP Turn Racing iRacing qualifying series for the virtual Pocono Raceway here on FTF.GG. My name is Justin Prince, alongside me is Joey Utterbury for pro qualifier coverage for the Grand Prix Turn Racing iRacing series. And with the season shifting to its only non-road course, today could get very wild, Joey.
Well, you just said it, the first non-road course, the only non-road course of the season. We've had traditionally the Red Bull Ring, then Imola, then Jerez, and now we are here at the Tricky Triangle, Pocono. What a way to throw a curveball right in the middle of the season.
And so many questions in turn, especially after the variations of types of road courses we had throughout this campaign, with this being a track that has a lot of argumentation on how you race it. Today could get interesting. Keep in mind the 3 road courses, also very tight circuits to close out the schedule, including the Belle Isle circuit and Spa with its heavy speeds. Plenty of heavy speeds though in turn expected today. Amongst this stretch to end off the month of July before the 3 races to end off the series in August. Keep in mind, though, the championship could get interesting today because a lot of drivers talked about potentially the drop being here at Pocono. This is the look at the standings, excluding that drop entering today. Pedalosa, Nunez, and Emery, the top 3. Daniel Sebishabo inside the top 4, with Velasquez along with Leo a part of the top 6. On the cut line entering today, Galvaleo up 15 spots. Real Giorgio, Kalen Chin amongst those below the cut line needing major points today. Pablo Espez, you throw in that same argument today. And with Pocono going to be an interesting one with so many drivers here with minimal oval experience and the potential of oval ringers to come into the field, a lot can change coming into today.
It's going to be really interesting to see, you're right, how the field stacks up. And talking about those points, I mean, Fenelos has been a dominant figure, but so is Vasquez. But remember, last time out, Vasquez had that early incident that essentially took him out of the race, lap 1 at Jerez. So I'm curious, are we going to see an oval ringer, like you were saying, come in and really dominate today's race? Or are we going to see the regulars that we have climb the points championship so far?
There's a lot of discussion to be had, but let's discuss where the qualifying series is today. We're in Long Pond, Pennsylvania, after all. The track opened since the 1960s. Originally, it actually had a short track configuration around the front straightaway and into the infield that was used for 2 years before the current layout of 2.5 miles was utilized. This triangular course provides lots of speed, 230 miles an hour on average at the end of the straightaways. And very recently, debate has grown on how many turns this track has, with some saying, like Pocono says, it's 3. Others, like NASCAR driver Anthony Alfredo, saying it's 5. Others say it's 6. Joey, today's regardless, on that pressure, lots to intensify here.
Yeah, definitely, and I think the correct wording is it's up for debate, and it is the tricky triangle. There are some turns that are based off of others, such as Indianapolis's turn 2. Also, you have the Milwaukee Mile turn 3 and Trenton Speedway turn 1, but it's more based off of versus a true replica of those corners. But I think you nailed it. The speeds are going to be incredibly high here at Pocono, in excess of 230 miles an hour, and drafting is going to be very important with those speeds.
And with today being an oval, a shorter qualifying session means already a chance to see how the drivers are doing. 5 minutes to be able to set your fastest laps towards Pocono. And as we get situated and ready to put down some of those flying laps towards qualifying, it's time to get ready to approach the track. On the call for today's round, alongside Joey, is the 2021 Pro Series lead commentator, Jake Sperry. Jake?
Thank you, Justin. It's everybody's favorite 3-turn, 5-turn oval. I think Pocono is going to show a different side to what this championship means. And not just, Joey, the fact that these drivers are qualifying. They will realize that when they hit the series proper, the 14 that qualify, they've got 2 oval rounds to deal with in the 10-week season. This is by no means as plain sailing as it gets.
You're going to have to get comfortable on the oval, the triangle, no matter what, if you're graduating up into that Pro Series. So maybe take this as some medicine right now. Learn how to swallow this. Learn how to race this racetrack. Learn how to race fairly with your competitors. And I think most importantly, learn how to be respectful.
And this is going to be something as we see Eduardo Leo and Aaron Vasquez up at the top 1 and 2 for Altus. This is something where Altus have a very unique advantage on as Manuel Cubo Torres goes second. The advantage is they have got an entire side dedicated to the ovals that absolutely dominates and has a lot of technical partnerships inside eNASCAR. That gives them a huge boon of information to work with.
It's always nice to have the bigger textbook, the bigger book of information to rely on. If you have a question, you can go and ask somebody about it, and they'll be able to at least point you in the right direction. Being part of a big team like that has its payoffs.
It does have its payoffs, and we have seen it time and again. The likes of drivers there, Cameron Dance looking to put a time in. Matt Hollyball going up to third fastest in the number 6. Brilliant work there to jump on with the neon green out there in the machine. Out of laps in qualifying, but a great time to jump through. But as it is known, it is not about how you qualify when it comes to oval racing. It's about how you can dice your way through the field. There is a lot more unpredictability when it comes to the oval style.
A lot more unpredictability, and I would also just say a lot more pack racing. You are not separated from your competitors like you can get strung out on a road course. You're going to have to be very aware of 2 wide, 3 wide, and probably here even 4 wide down the front straightaway.
Oh, little grab against the wall there for Charles Wimbley, the number 16, currently 19th fastest out there on track at the moment. That might have been enough to invalidate the lap time here going on forward. So that will be troubles heading to the line. And yes, that lap does not count, so is not able to improve. It's worth talking about this as we are pretty much all but done when it comes to their qualifying times. Very quickly, Joey, no compound changes here today. They are on an oval spec tire.
Yeah, traditionally the road course, you have a few different compounds to change from. They start on the mediums and go to the hards usually. But here on the oval, we just have the one single compound for that oval. For the banking, it's a little bit stronger.
It is 27 to 33 laps. We're expecting that pit window. Same tyre compound for everyone. It's 150 miles worth of racing, 60 laps to get it all done. Everybody done when it comes to qualifying. The grid then will be as follows here for Pocono Raceway, the halfway race on this 7-week tour of qualifiers. It is Eduardo Leo who puts it up on the pole position with a 38.313. We'll have Chabi Rose alongside the company just sneaking in to top split action. Manuel Kubo Torres will line up third alongside Matt Hollibor with Aaron Vasquez and Gail Valero. The man on the cut line starts from position number 6. Pablo Espes and Alex Gal, good qualifying by Gal, starts from 8th with Jacob Reed in 9th and Sebastian Alexander there rounding out the top 10 overall. Over the page we go. Hamilton Akabuzi goes from 11th. Kalen Chin starts in 12th with Jorge Martinez and Darren Stevens 13th and 14th. Octavio Rondeletto from Club Hispanoamerica starts 15th with Justin Melillo in 16th position. Takuma Ito and Cameron Dance, they house row 9 of the grid. Charles Wimbley has 19th. Nicholas Sudik has a 20th from Club Ohio. The last 2 drivers did not set a time, that being Jake Poulin and Jan Hoffman, who will have to go from the back of the grid, rated by their oval iRating. That is a huge talking point here, Joey. Oval iRating means that this round is going to statistically score a lot less points than all of the other rounds in this championship.
Yeah, you're off talking about the math again. I am just a pure emotion when it comes to the racetrack, but you're right. You know, the less cars, the less splits, we are talking about less available points today.
We are, and that's going to mean that these drivers, if you do have a bad round here today, it's not as bad as having a bad round somewhere else. For example, if you had a bad round 1, that's the worst place to have a bad round in a championship like this. They will set off behind the iRacing sedan safety car, and they will now look to try and get themselves going. You can tell it's a pace car because it says pace car on the back bumper to identify to all the drivers out there that that is indeed the pace car that they must follow. But they are going to be in a very interesting position because we know so well, Joey, how well on the road courses these cars draft, these Dallara IR01s. They are incredible at following in the wheel tracks. And with a car that does not want to be in position number 1 on the road, Eduardo Leo's going to have his work cut out. And more so here at an oval like Pocono, where you are spending upwards of 85% of the time at full throttle.
Well, not only that, but these Dallara IR01 machines, 20,000 RPM, 3-liter V10 and 900 horsepower. So not only do they draft extremely well, but they accelerate right out of the gate very, very well. And with these cool conditions, they are going to be flying.
They are going to be flying, and they are going to have to be very alert about how much pace they are going to get out of themselves today, knowing as well that the track conditions here are overcast. It's 33 degrees centigrade. It's about 91 Fahrenheit here. They've got not much wind to deal with, but those overcast conditions here are really going to put the cat amongst the pigeons in terms of what they're capable of doing.
Yeah, it basically is just extra grip, extra confidence for these drivers to go up there and get after it.
Yeah, pace car then, expected and will do. Take a turn left. Eduardo Leo will have control of the field, and he launches early. Green flag in the air from Pocono. We are racing.
What a start from our pole sitter. Eduardo Leo controls the field pretty much single file, 2x2 from 4th on back.
Oh, and it's all about getting into a rhythm. You can see drivers trying to find that high line as they go out off of the banking there of turn 1. They make that long run over to turn 2, the 90 degree that comes up and along. And it's all about now sitting in position and making something happen. A good start by Vasquez. Hollyball got a good start. The one driver who went backwards off of the start was Manuel Kubo. He's gone back to 5th place. There's a little look from Vasquez trying to move up there to 3rd, but we've already got a lap of the 60 in the books, and watch out for drivers trying to snake about a little bit for the Serpentine. Here comes Vasquez.
I'm already seeing 255 plus miles an hour in the draft, and look at that around the outside of turn 1 down the Long Pond straightaway.
Look, this is incredible. I'm seeing in kilometers an hour over 400 as Hamilton Akabuzi has a little look then as he tried to figure out if he could pass Alex Gal then for place. Gal having absolutely none of it though, staying right low to the inside. And watch out over the course of this race for the track to migrate a little bit. Not fully as you would do a full length, you would say, style race of 133 odd laps, but already we got one taker down in the lane. It's Takuma Ito, and he's got the black and orange mechanical flag, Justin.
Yes, indeed. That was off the opening lap, mind you, for one of the drivers from Division 2, actually, when it comes to their iRating grouping. And keep in mind, when it comes to how much draft is pushed up, if you're on the default setup, it can actually get a little bit tight in the draft, to say the least. Potentially may have air washed up into the wall with how tight this track can be with speeds, as you said, above 250 miles an hour. That's a lot of pace.
Vasquez has been trying all race long to get through, but he's hit an air wall, essentially, every time he's pulled out to try and get the move on Hollyball. He's not getting any help from the group in front of Chabi Rose and Eduardo Leo, and that's why you're going to have to be 2nd, 3rd in line to get it done. This time he'll get it done because moving a little bit to the inside there was Chabi Rose in front of him. That was perfect for Aaron Vasquez and what he wanted.
Yeah, basically just got the aid of the slipstream from the 2nd place car. Now you see him down low through turn number 3, searching for that clean air. And I don't know if he got into the wall, but Jake, I'm seeing a lot of these cars push very wide coming up out of turn 3.
Yeah, they're going to have to be careful about that, especially when they hit that aero wake that you often see around turn 3, because you're trying to hold as much pace as you possibly can. 2nd group gets interesting now behind Manuel Kubo, Espes, Valero, all there. And you've also got Matt Hollyball who's sort of bunching it up. Through will go Espes then in the Obsidian racing car, jumps up then into 5th place with that pass. Now knows he's got to get by Hollyball because they know 1 second is where it starts to snap, that elastic band. You've got to stay in range.
You can't get out of that window, you're right, because then you're just allowing the front runners to run away literally with the race. When you have to push that air yourself, you're starting to use up fuel mileage that you don't want to.
High line holds for Hollyball, and Pablo Espes will feel like he did everything right there to try and pick up that move, but it didn't quite manifest. Top 3, Leo, Rose, and Vasquez. Vasquez playing the patient game. Eduardo Leo being on the front is the one place you don't want to be in this race. He's doing all of the donkey work at the front, and you're seeing the different lines coming in. How Chabi Rose is trying to take a wider entry into 3 there, Joey, to try and really slingshot off of the exit of the corner.
Well, and the reason why he's doing it is the front straightaway here at Pocono is the longest straightaway in North America, 3,740 feet in length.
Oh, and absolutely rapid. And again, Pablo Espes on the outside, on the inside, trying to get past Matt Hollyball, who has made that outside his own. That left is not going to be the easiest place to make it happen, though, and he will have to fall back into line. Manuel Kubo, Gail Valero, Jacob Reed, all there, and all focusing through. Top 8 split by 1.9 seconds out on track. That 3rd group even, I think is going to be quite interesting to see how they try and work to get back to that group with Hamilton Akabuzi, with Octavio Rondoletto, Alex Gal, Kalen Chin. They've all got work to do to chase this group, which is slowly morphing into an 8-pack challenge at the front.
Well, and Ross took over the lead there, so Leo and Vasquez, the two Altis cars, now giving chase to our leader, the number 22. And look at this, Pablo Espez, ever since he got around Hollybo, has really closed that gap between these front three and that second pack.
And Pablo Espez, in his purest form, is a racer, and he will want to race and race and race. It doesn't matter what machinery he's in. When it comes to iRacing, he will race, and he will give anybody a race, and pound for pound might be one of the best iRacers in the world. Little bit wide, there goes Leo, and you can sense how much these drivers are going to try and use that banking coming off of one. You can really see, Joey, how much of a dip comes off of the banking off the one.
Yeah, and then in turn two, it's not even either. It is known as the tunnel turn, so there's definitely elevation changes throughout this racetrack, whether it's going into and out of the corners via the banking or just undulations.
Back then to the inside, Eduardo Leo with the magic move is going to take himself back to the point as lap 10 gets itself into view. Certainly finding what is wanted at this moment, and now he will take some more laps back up at the front of the field. 4 and 4 it stands, and it seems like 4 is the magic number for every group. They find themselves in packs of 4 trying to chase down, and it's very much that tandem style. It's almost like watching the cycling pursuit out there on a velodrome.
Well, it's kind of the buddy system out there. You got to have a buddy to draft with, and I'm not joking about that, because if you are here at Pocono turning laps by yourself, trust me, you will be slower than in a pack.
You absolutely will, because that draft is so strong and so powerful. And look at what it's done to that third group with Alex Gal leading that group. They're already back now about 3.5 seconds here to Jacob Reed in the number 3 machine. There's nothing really, Joey, that they can do about this. They are consigned to their fate of not being able to really do anything about this. And they're going to need some magic on strategy if they're going to get this through.
Yeah, and I'm looking there, 2.5 seconds plus behind the main group. I agree. It's going to have to be a big-time strategy play or mistakes from that lead group.
Mistakes are certainly not what they want in this field, especially if they're at the front. When they're so close, they're so congested like this, it's going to be a case of what can they do? And a lot of these drivers are going to be thinking about the fuel save game, lifting off on these straights, saving upwards of 20 kilometers an hour on the straight in the back pocket, just so they can play that fuel game just in, so they can advance compared to everybody else in that pit stop.
We're actually discussing this earlier today with Justin Malloa, who was amongst those in the fourth pack that's formed up, third or fourth pack, should say, and said he's seen drivers with this car be able to save as much as 7 laps past the estimated window if they're careful enough with the draft. For reference, those out of the draft are slower by about 4 or 5 tenths, however, compared to the front runners. Now, keep in mind, some of the various drivers of the packs, talking about the difficulties that you're talking about with battling. Cameron Dance, for example, one of the drivers we talked about with some speed coming into this series, they're just trying to get solid points at this point and just trying to keep it safe. They lost a ton of time battling in the early, going 14 seconds back of the leader. They're just trying to keep it clean. Alex Gal, a little bit of a different case because they were pushing at the back of their respective pack before dropping off of that grouping. And despite working with several different factors of their own team layers to try and work on this car, put it politely, they said, every other car we try to work with from or within our organization was not the Dallara Aero 1. So they're also in that strategy of trying to make sure to limit push, but also thankful it's not windy right now.
Oh, very much so. The fact that it's a very nice, calm day in terms of the windy conditions, they're going to be very happy with the way that's going about this race. But Joey, you talk about this car in terms of how you try and set it up. I've seen so many drivers talk about it when they get to the IRO1. There is nothing like it, and it's a car which you try and drive, and everything else feels different after you've driven this.
It's so fast. It's so visceral. You know, I talked about it earlier. The motor that's in it, 3-liter V10, the huge tires, it only weighs 600 kilos dry, so it is incredibly light. Then you put all of the aero on it. Oh my goodness, it is one amazing machine. And you're right, it is unlike anything else.
It is 8 then at the front of this field. Jacob Reed is the driver on the back of this group. He's had a few looks at Gale Valero. And Gale there, the Apex Racing driver there, who is sat in 7th position, probably has the most difficult job of them all. He has to make sure he does not fall into any troubles in this race, because he is the gatekeeper to qualification as it stands at the moment.
Yes, when you're looking at the point standings, I would say the only caveat is maybe some drop weeks are going to come into effect after this week. But being also the gatekeeper of this first pack, he's kind of the caboose on the train.
He kind of is. Here comes Pablo Espes just sticking his nose out there further in front. He will jump the queue and say Aaron Vasquez fall back to 4th. He'll take 3rd, and he will have his compatriot to try and go through next in Chabby Roast. So now that's the next port of call as they go through. Just the one retirement from this race so far. It's been an incredibly orderly race so far here, Joey.
It has been. We haven't seen very many incidents. The drivers have been very respectful about where their cars are pointing and how much you're invading somebody else's space. But I have a feeling that once we get closer to halfway, things might start to change a little bit. And then once we get those pit stops, then I think we're going to see the aggression start to come out.
And the big word begins, well, words I should say, begins with a T, Joey. It's track position that will become vital.
Yes, and you gotta nail your pit stop. That means going in and out of pit road. It's something that might not be practiced that often, but it can win or lose a race.
And when you consider as well that they're going at speeds over 400 kilometers an hour at times, and they've got to get that down to pit lane speed, which here today is going to be 89 kilometers an hour, so just a shade over 60, about 65 miles an hour. You're asking a lot of these cars to slow down. The man with the speed gun who sat there at the beginning of the pit lane, he's going to have a field day. He's going to see the biggest penalty points he's ever seen in his life.
Yeah, it's about 55 miles per Freedom Eagle out there for pit lane speed limit. And yeah, it's so easy to miss that. I mentioned how huge the brakes are, how huge the downforce in the tire is, but that also means if you overstep the limit, you're going to be flying through and getting a penalty.
And that's the last thing that you really want. And on top of that, there are going to be some drivers out there who's going to think about going long. How about going to the front? Making the move into the opening corner. Chabby Rose decides he wants to take some time at the front of this field. Maybe sensing some urgency as Leo moves to 2nd. Espes 3rd. Vasquez now in 4th. And Matt Hollybore has done well to hold on to this group in 5th. Someone like Hollybore is an oval specialist. And while someone is lighting up what they can do, sticking the tongue out maybe to try and get these positions right now, as we can see, trying to make this push through 4 and looking for 3, sorry, I should say, and then making the run through. That's my first trip up of the race.
Yeah, and Espes right on board. Look at this, 250 plus miles an hour still on these old tires. Now, Jake, I want to go back and talk just slightly about these pit stops because they are coming up. We talked about the fuel save earlier. Now, if you fuel saved enough, it's actually going to come out to be a shorter pit stop time, and you might actually pass one of your competitors in pit lane.
And it's all about tango as well. It's okay that you can get that ability to jump, Joey, but you're also looking at the ability to say, well, if you're out there on your own and you've made a jump, oh, how close to the wall do you want to go, Chabby Rose, to that one happening. But if you get out on your own, you've got no one to draft with.
I agree, and that's a dangerous spot to be in. So you got to have the buddy system in and out of pit lane, just like how it works on the racetrack, because if you lose your buddy, even if it's in pit lane, you're going to lose them on the racetrack.
Well, someone's buddy is going to be 2nd and 4th at the moment. Eduardo Leo and Aaron Vasquez, who are there in 2nd and 4th. Justin, have you had any ideas on what Altus are thinking?
Well, when it comes to Altus, I can tell you, based on the past experiences, they usually like to work together and be very in sync when it comes to the strategy. We talked about this, for example, with Simone when it came to last time out, that they were a little nervous about this respective race, especially the positioning and the points. Now, keep in mind, though, in a race like this, if you get a pack of, say, 3 cars to break away, that might be a huge difference to be able to coordinate for your fuel strategy. That has been a common practice on the oval circuits in the past with this car.
that has been an option. So if you can get in together, you're going to be in a really nice place. And I think very nearly just jumping over the radio was Aaron Vasquez, maybe trying to signal some intent here to say, what are we doing? We got a chance to maybe break away a little bit from Matt Hollyball. That gap now extending out to 0.4 of a second, and we're seeing those peaks and troughs going through. It's not the worst thing in the world here for Hollyball to give himself a little bit of a gap, because if something happens with those front four in front there, Joey, that's it. He's got time to react.
I think that's a good way to put it, a little bit of a buffer zone, but I've also watched his speed. I think that Matt Hollyball has speed in the car, and it's exactly what you were talking about. He's just leaving a little bit of a distance in case something happens, because look, he can just close it right back on up, right out of 3 where he needs to.
He certainly can. They might be thinking as well towards the end of this race that they might, just might, be getting lap traffic. That could be a factor late on as they now look to try and charge on forward with this race. This is going to be a really important point as they now try and get themselves forward and do what they do. And it just looks like that group of 8 has suddenly morphed down one into a group of 7 because technical issues have struck Manel Kubo.
Yeah, it looks like Manel Kubo Tor is out of the race right now in pit lane, and sometimes it happens, Jake. You got hardware issues too.
Yeah, you certainly can do, and you've got to be very alert. It's very much like the engine going, and that very much the case. There is Gail Valero, who will now be looking at Hollyball. He will now have a direct pipeline here to try to get past the likes then of those in front. He has got a lot of work to do, though, to mastermind his way through this field. He's just got to play the patience card and just wait for his opportunities. We are opening that pit stop window. We expect a lap from now. So any time from now, we're going to be starting to see drivers thinking about when's the right time to jump on that pit lane.
And crucially, you gotta look at the strategy as a whole. Right now, I think the pit window is from 27 to 33. If you don't make it to 30, you might be short filling the car. I would say you want to make it to 30.
First caller then down on the lane, Justin, and it looks like it's another Justin.
Yes, it's Justin Malou, one of the eNASCAR reporters, actually, for Traction GG, making his way on in. Was practicing just before the start of today's action and had just said, I think I found something, and he found decent pace at least, had been running in the middle pack, electing to go up for an 8-second pit stop to open up the window prior to halfway, though, critically.
Prior to halfway, so we'll have 33 laps to do on his final stint. He's going to try and use the rubber up now to go out there and attack, but he could very easily find that later on in this race here, Joey, he might have to pay the piper.
Yeah, and that's just kind of the flip of the coin is, do you want the track position, the clean air, and the fresh tires, or do you maybe want to stretch it out onto a little bit of an empty tank? And I tell you what, the car I've been watching, we were just talking about, the number 6 of Hollyball, it seems like all of a sudden he's turned it up a notch.
Right at the crucial point of the race, just staying quiet and going through. A wiggle for Shabby Rose through one. That could have very easily have meant the end of his race. And this is the sort of car when it first came out, people were thinking about, well, what's the wheel doing? You had little oscillations. You have to drive it a completely different style out there. And that's what these drivers are fighting against. A car that's always trying to fight with how much torque it's got. Left, right, up, down. It even goes slantways like the great glass elevator that Willy Wonka has.
I think it's such a neat car, though, because you listen to a lot of real-world Formula One drivers talk about how there's so much technology and aids in these new ones. They want more of that raw experience. Well, here it is.
Absolutely, it is a beast of a phenomenon of a car that you've got out there, and it's going to make everybody alert as they go through. This is Nicholas Sudik then looking to make the move and gets the pass on Seb Alexander. That a move for 12th position. Jorge Martinez then for Mag Performance SRT sits just behind and is thinking about how he can make his way up through. He's one of the drivers inside the top 20, but on the outside looking in.
Yeah, and just crucially, a little bit further back in the pack. And I've been wondering, without any yellow flags here, do you think that maybe some of these drivers fell back predicting that there was going to be an accident and it just hasn't happened?
No, it just hasn't. I think everyone knows that they've only got one car. They've got to use it the best they can. And because of that, they have to drive absolutely fantastically here today. They've got to drive impeccably and with respect for everyone else. And I think that's what we've got as we are now over the halfway stage. We're on lap number 31, heading to 32. The leaders, none of them have taken a bite to dive down into the pits. But we do have someone diving in and signal his intention. It's number 1, Justin. It's Octavio Rondoletto.
Yes, indeed. And one of the Oval veterans, in fact, when it comes to this series here today. Amongst those who have done well in multiple different special events, and not just when it comes to the pro scene, but the caution.
Caution flag comes out right at the pit stop window. So just like that, it brings itself through and into a phase to stop. So the caution strikes, and that now equalizes everybody else's strategy.
Yeah, and I'm trying to figure out exactly where it happened, and it's going to be very interesting because we just had a few cars come down pit lane. They can make it to the end, Jake. That means all the cars that haven't pitted yet, it's going to be tough. If they didn't go down a lap, they're going to have to work their way up through them.
And you talk about drivers who took an advantage out of it. Talk about the driver who came in and made his pit stop and now doesn't have to make it anymore. That puts Justin Melillo in a great position.
It does put him in a great position as long as he stayed on the lead lap. I don't think he did at the time. I mean, he still will be in a much better position, but you're right. A good pit strategy call from that number 10.
And everybody then back behind the pace car as we are over this halfway stage of the race. They will now know that they have to take their pit stop cycle, and there's the focus on the pink and highlighted blue out there at the moment of Justin Melillo, who knows he doesn't have to come in and make a stop. Another driver who I think is going to be in a good position for this, Octavio Rondoletto, Justin, who had only just came into the pits when the caution came out.
Yeah, it's worth noting though, Melillo did lose a lap. Well, this is a track where in most series you can keep on the lead lap. Here's the most difficult part. With laps being an average of 38 seconds in the pit delta 34, there is a major chance drivers could lose a lap if they aren't in that lead pack. That's the most difficult part when it comes to some of the strategy in turn today. So just about most of those just barely held on to the lead lap. Melillo did not. Expect drivers to come on in, not too many adjustments to be expected. Drivers like Cameron Dance, according to their information, saying they're going to try and see how this caution can help them if they can gain track position from 16th. They're just hoping to see if they can gain anything from this situation.
Anything they can would be huge. Manuel Kubo's back out there. He's 4 laps down after the technical issues he's had. But this is a battle of pit crews now. Everyone goes through. Missed box at the front. Eduardo Leo missed his box under caution, and that will put him way down the order now compared to everyone else. Look at how many drivers go through. He comes out 5th, I think, in the end. I think he was actually just beaten off the lane by Vasquez, but it looks like he's got out 4th as he's gone on through. So Rose, Espes, Valero with a great stop. And yes, as expected, Vasquez then will jump Eduardo Leo in the stop. Disaster for the number 18, Joey.
Yeah, and it can be just as simple as sliding through your pit stall, a mistake. Oh my goodness, Eduardo Leo, I know, very frustrated with himself inside that race car.
So the frustrations very much tell out there. The caution came in and changed everything. But the one thing we haven't really noted here, Justin, is where that caution came about, where that caution sort of found itself out through. And it looked like it was one of the most innocuous cautions you can find. Joey, I'll throw that one to you.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at it, and I believe it was Takuma Ito that had the yellow flag. And take a look at this replay here. This is actually him coming out of pit lane. I know that Ito had a few problems earlier on the racetrack, some hardware issues, and I'm not sure if it just was a spin that brought him into pit lane or exactly what brought out this yellow flag.
Well, he had damage. He's been trying to serve that damage as much as he can, but it looked like as he moved over to the left, the caution came out because of the speeds that he was going. Maybe it was just that, that brought that all into play. So Takuma Ito, who is 23 laps down in this race, mind you, is hoping for a bit of help. The wave around goes through for Nicholas Sudik right now and Justin Melillo. So it's Xavi Rose with control of the field. It's Pablo Espes in second, and Gael Valero has moved his way up into third. There have been some movers, though, when it has come to their pitting and what they've done, Justin. And I think the key to look at in terms of who's made good progress, there are two, and it's 2 and 20. Hamilton Akabuzi and Kalen Chin.
Yes, indeed, and some good pit stop sequences. Seen them in the 7-second bracket. A majority of the pit stops on average, the 8-second mark during that caution sequence. Cameron Dance also amongst those who were in the 7-second bracket and gained 3 spots, actually. To the surprise of his crew chief today, Jack Stiles, who was bouncing back and forth saying, we're not going to gain too much. No, we are. And we're not going to gain too much, then said, so we did gain too much. Or a lot, I should say. By the way, context on what happened there with Malone, with him being pinned a lap down there, the reason he elected to pit early, Jake, was to try and add a little bit more tire heat into those rubbers, and in turn, that caution really put him behind the 8 ball, was looking to try and get a jump start for the second half of the race, now has lost all the track position.
Yeah, that's going to hurt him in terms of his run. Alex Gal, by the way, has a crew chief. He's got Adam Crane helping him out today. And Matt Hollibor has Michael Hurley in his ears, giving him as much advice as possible. The lights are off on top of the iRacing sedan pace car. That will come down into the lane. When we get back to racing action, we will have 25 laps to go. And it's Xavi Rose, the young sensation, who is on the front of this field. He's got Pablo Espes from Barcelona, the Catalan, there alongside. Green flag in the air. Let's go racing once again. It's going to be very much a case of troubles for Eduardo Leo. He jumped the start. He's got a black flag.
And that's what I was just looking at. He had a killer restart, but he crucially passed the car before he got to finish. Problems.
Caution comes out. A huge wreck at the back of this field. Alex Gal's involved. Jake Poulin's been caught up. So too Seth Alexander, it looks like. And cautions, we use the biggest phrase in oval racing, breed cautions.
Oh, that's why you gotta spay and neuter your cautions so that way they don't replicate. And this time it took out multiple cars a little bit further in the back of the field. But I tell you, one person who is incredibly happy to see that yellow flag, Eduardo Leo.
Eduardo Leo is, because he knows he has to serve the black flag penalty that he's got within 4 laps of receiving it. So he effectively gets a free pass when he comes down into the lane. He can serve that penalty and not lose any time. He'll lose all the track position, though, out there in this race, Justin. But crucially, it doesn't cost him the 34 seconds of delta to serve it under green.
It has to be served under green. That's the most
it has
difficult.
to be served under green. Right, that's crucial. So he's got to wait for a green flag lap to basically go and give him the opportunity to serve it then, correct?
Correct. And to put it simply, on oval tracks, or anything classified as an oval, on a restart, you cannot pass a driver to their left before the start and finish line, for any reason. So in that case, he passed clearly to make up a position, in fact, and that in turn is the reason for the black flag.
We'll get a look at this then. This is Eduardo Leo. You can see he just jumps too quickly. He gets past Aaron Vasquez. He also gets past underneath Gael Valero. He's too aggressive on that start. And just like that, the jump start catches him. But it's here into one where it all goes wrong. And oh, it's a horrible, horrible moment there. You get 3-4 wides. It fans out in the back, Joey. And all of a sudden, someone's got to give.
These cars are incredibly wide, and look at how wide the straightaway is here at Pocono. When you're 4 wide, you have to be very aware, and with how wide the cars are, how big the tires are, there just wasn't enough room for everybody there.
Melillo there caught up. Oh, sorry, Poulin caught up. You had Alex Gal there, who was in trouble. Alex Gal was a bystander. Here's a little look then at just how quickly it can go wrong here. There's the contact, 1-2, and then back off the wall there. For Poulin, there's not much that he could do about that, and he finds himself staring at 2 tires at 90 degrees to him. It's very lucky that they both stayed on the tethers there.
I believe that's a little bit of a Sebastian Buemi lookalike, right?
Oh yes, very much, except those tyres are still travelling apparently from his accident 10 or 11 years ago now at this point over at the Shanghai International Circuit. That much we can certainly say. But it won't matter too much then, Justin here, for the driver at the front of the field. Number 22, Chabi Rose. He'll be very happy to tick off these laps at the front.
Yes, indeed. Remember, when it comes to this, as we've seen the restart procedure, chance to be able to cool down the tires, save a little bit of gas, make sure they're good to go on the gas. By the way, have some reaction from some of the drivers in that situation, Alex Gal. Their respective crew not too happy on the aggression levels in that restart, even though it was the only restart so far of the race. Others continuing to discuss that, like Nicholas Sudik over the radio, about the timing of that attempt. But again, here's the critical part. Pocono is technically up to 10 lanes wide. There's a lot of space here to go 3-4 wide.
There is a lot of space, but you certainly do find, Joey, when you're out here racing and you've got a track that is as wide can be, drivers are going to try and really arc in and put the pressure on other drivers and other drivers' lanes. One driver is going to dive there in the back into the pits. It looked like the Apex Academy car of Manuel Kubo is going to get a little bit of something done to the car to get that pointed in the right direction. But you're absolutely looking at drivers when they've got so much space out on the circuit, you often take that space for granted.
Yes, it is very wide. However, when you have a wide racetrack, guess what? The driver's eyes, they get really wide as well, seeing all of this place that they can use to them. They don't necessarily think about everyone else out there. And when you start going 3-4 wide, you have to have that awareness. You have to have the spotter saying, all right, you got 3 up top, or you're splitting 2 up top, 1 down below. You just have to have that information, and sometimes not everybody does. And then not only that, combine it with the speeds that these cars are doing. Even just inches separation, it can be catastrophic on the racetrack.
It can, and especially when you get these sorts of machines that pull so much in terms of the way that they're designed. You've definitely got that effect where you're just looking around and going, well, okay, where is the trouble point out there? You know, this car is so troublesome out there in terms of how they want to design this car, how streamlined they wanted it. The wing mirrors, you don't see them on the outside. They're almost embedded into the cockpit itself.
I believe they are. They're kind of like a little heads-up display like a fighter jet would be using, so pretty much only the driver can see them from his eye line. It's kind of along the little visor, if you will. There's a good shot of them. They're right there, right by the tires.
Yeah, so you got the tires, and you look over at your front right, you look over at your front left, you see who's behind you then in the background. Pace car is going to dive down in. It'll be 21 laps to go here at Pocono, looking for a restart after the second caution of the race. 2 quick cautions back-to-back after the halfway stage. Chabi Rose will make them wait. Green flag in the air. We're racing again here from Pocono, and they know that Eduardo Leo will have to dive down into the pitch to serve the black flag penalty. Will they all make it through turn 1 this time? Oh, they're beating and banging already. There's one up into the wall, and it's troubles already in this run, and it's not good for Darren Stevens, who will now find himself over to the apron. We stay green.
Gail Valero just went 3 wide and 1. Now he slingshots down the long pond straightaway. Valero just went from 8th to 3rd and 2 straights.
Brilliant work. Jacob Reed, I think, was the one who was making all of that progress that's got him up to 3rd. In will come Eduardo Leo. He's got to serve the penalty, and he will do so now. It gives Chabi Rose a 1-second lead after the opening lap. This group's got to work together now to chase him down over the course of this. It's Jacob Reed in 2nd. He now loses that out to Pablo Espes, who holds on to that place. But boys, work together. You're going to lose the race at this rate.
You just took the words right out of my mouth. The more second place argues over who wants to catch the leader, the more they lose touch. I'm noticing up to 1.1 seconds.
They're going to have to play ball. They're going to have to be nice. Chabi Rose out there on his own at the front, and look at how the group stacks. It goes all the way to Matt Hollibor and Justin Melillo. Melillo was a lap down, believe it or not, and he's now 9th.
A terrific comeback drive from Melillo. You see him here in the pink machine, the caboose on the lead train, but sometimes that's where you need to be. Let everything unfold in front of you.
Let everything unfold. Find everything that you possibly can. But look at that gap extend now. 1.4 seconds as they hit the tunnel turn.
I wonder, is Rose going to run away with this? And here we go. I see Aaron Vasquez say, you know what? If nobody's going to go up there and catch him, I'll do it.
He's going to say, I've got to chase him down. I don't want to let number 22, lowest iRacing in this oval field, get away. There's the Obsidian racing car of Pablo Espes in third. He's looking around him because it's too wide behind. Hamilton Akabuzi starting to make some progress now. He moves up to fourth just behind, but his eyes are focused. There's the look behind. Look how hungry everyone is. Look to the inside now. Watch out on the left-hand side of your screen. There goes the move. Vasquez loses out. Espes now, I think, gets the memo.
I really feel like these cars, you said, work together. Well, it's not single file. It is going to be leapfrogging each other down the straightaways. What did you say earlier? You love your bicycling references.
I do love a good race. We just finished up the Tour de France, and right now it is one chaser. The peloton is there behind, and they are having to relay to get themselves closer here. Vasquez and Espes are trying to chase Chabi Rose down, and they're going to have to work really hard to make that happen, and it's going to have to be every straight they play this game.
And it's a rubber band right now. They gain a 10th, and then they lose a 10th, so they're going to have to get even more organized. And here we go. Hollybo's said, you know what? I want to insert my name up here.
He does. He's still stuck there on the inside, though, so he can't do anything about it. He's thinking about trying to help them all out as well. They have no communication with everyone else. They're trying to work it out. What can they do? Chase that down. 1.4 seconds, it stays over the line. Anything above 1.5, and that's it. Chabi Rose can start driving away at the front of this field, but they have to play the game, and drivers will know that there are big points at stake if they get it wrong.
And I'm looking at this group. They're continuing to hemorrhage time to Rose out front. I think the leader of this one needs to be the number 6 car. You see him up wide, but he gets these monster runs down the straightaway. I think Matt Hollyball should be up trying to catch our leader.
I think Matt Hollyball is absolutely in the right position there to do so. He's got a car that is a rocket ship in a straight line. Maybe he might struggle a little bit more through the corners than others, but that gap again, 1.4 over the line, and it is just hovering at that 1.4. It's tantalizing. It's the carrot on the stick that they find themselves in, and they're now starting to try and think about picking different lines, get themselves different runs through different corners. At some point, there is going to be that coordination break, and they'll run out of laps and realize, well, I can't go for the win. I'm going to have to go for what's next, which will be second or third. They'll start having that discord in the group.
Well, let's see if Matt goes for the pass here up onto Espes. He's already around Vasquez, and yes, Hollyball trying to stick it down to the bottom. He's up to second place.
He does a great job of making that move. He takes the air away from Pablo Espes, who has to deal with a boatload of understeer through one. That puts him in trouble, and suddenly Hollyball puts himself through. That lap, they brought the gap down to 1.3 seconds, though, so they were starting to slowly bring that down. It checks up a little bit in the middle. It puts Jacob Reed with a little thought to the inside of Hamilton Akabuzi. That won't happen here with 14, soon 13 laps to go here around this Pocono circuit. 13 to go on the ticker. Back to 1.4 again because they were starting to make some moves.
Fastest car on the racetrack, that number 6, a 38.5. He was 0.3 faster than our leader.
He absolutely was, and that gave him a big opportunity. Big push now for Pablo Espes at the tunnel turn to move back up into second position. Now knowing that he had the help of Aaron Vasquez, who effectively is the giver and taker of places at the moment, because slipstream doesn't just work. The push doesn't also come from in front. They don't often talk about this. It comes from behind as well.
Yes, the more organized your line is, it's just kind of a longer aerodynamic shape, and it's more slipstream through the air. You'll actually find yourself going a little bit further on that top speed.
You certainly can do, and that's where we're starting to see it. These drivers now have to be organized and get this one working the way they know they have to, because Pablo Espes has almost broken that run forward and is giving everything that they've got. 12 laps to go, it will soon be 11. And Justin, you look at those in the group, they weren't expecting someone to break away off the front.
Yeah, especially since this is a very draft-dependent type of car at some of these ovals, such as Pocono. However, You're seeing exactly what was touched upon earlier. This is something that was talked about before across the platform as a whole. If you battle back and forth like they did at the start of this group, if you have someone who runs single file, they're going to end up being quicker because of that lost time in the corners. Good example, Velasquez and Hollyball just about lost time trying to let each other around to the tunnel turn. Now they have to work together, stay coordinated, and that's one of the major focal points. Justin Malone even said when he started seeing the battles, I asked a quick question. That's what you're seeing. The leader's broken away. And that was when he was only 1 second up. And that was before 5 more laps of side by side.
They're slowly clawing it back, though. This is the key. 1.2, Joey. If they get it to 1, they've got themselves an absolute avenue.
It's like the fishing reel out front. You just need to get a little bit closer to hook that fish. And right now, this pack, they can sniff it. They can smell it. They are so close, just a little bit closer.
That's the look behind from your race leader, Chabby Rose. I saw Hollyball trying to make a move. He didn't manage to make it stick on Aaron Vasquez, who is there in 3rd position. Gap over the line, 1.1. It's a 1/10 of a second at a time, and they're now starting to claw up behind, go too wide through the corners. Reed making the move on Hollyball. Valera on the inside makes the pass on Akabuzi.
Yeah, it was Valero going around. Oh, yes, you're right. Vasquez, Reed, Hollyball, Valero, and Akabuzi there in 6th place. And I've noticed Espez, he's really almost getting pushed by Vasquez, but he's starting to take more and more of that apron through the tunnel turn. You got to be careful there.
You do. If you have trouble through the tunnel turn, wall for Vasquez. Coming out of the final corner. He's pushing. He brushes against the wall. It shows this group. They all want this. They all want to chase it down. It's now 7/10 of a second. Chabby Rose, I think, is running out of laps to break away. He's trying to rush away and get to the Pennsylvania border in time.
And he's just staring up at the racing god right now saying, why? Why me? I was out of range, and then you let him catch me.
You let him catch me. And here comes the move for the race lead. To the inside. And Pablo Espes now of Obsidian puts himself at the point coming through 3. Here comes Chabby Rose back.
Rose does not want to give this up. He says, you know what? I've led the majority of the back half of this race. I'm in control of it. This is mine.
What a move down low. Trying to get that back. He's not going to have the drive to make it happen, is Espes, but that opens up Aaron Vasquez now to try and make this happen. Number 7 trying to get through. The Iberians are 1, 2, and 3, and they're putting on a show better than Alex Palou.
It is incredible. Almost 3 wide for the lead coming up out of turn 3. You got to give space. It's Vasquez, Espes, Rose, but don't count out Hollyball or Valero.
You can't count anybody out of this group. Hollyball making a push now down low. Moves past Jacob Reed. Wants to try and make the pass as well on Chabby Rose, who's now back in 3rd. Espes leads. Vasquez now in 2nd. And the push is very much about timing. A group like this, it's about how you time your move.
Well, look at Jacob Reed all the way up high. He's been watching that number 6 car, especially in turn 3. Watch for the cars to go very wide on entry, but here comes Reed. He's going to try to get it, but he's going to get the arrow chopped off.
Yeah, he's going to wash out then and lose all of that drive that he's got, and they have to be very careful. Any caution inside the final 5 laps of this race could spell disaster to the way that this goes. There is no green-white checker in this series. If it is a caution inside the final 5, that's it. It's all done. If they reach the last lap, that's it. They can race for the victory, knowing that whatever happens, happens.
That's a fantastic... Oh, and then we got problems. Reed into the wall off of turn 2.
And just like that, the caution comes with 5 laps to go. Gail Valero's caught up in it as well, and that might have just signed the deal for this race to be scored complete. It's going to be very close whether it will be complete and official or not.
Oh, yeah, just full course yellow and disaster for Jacob Reed, but Vasquez, Espes, Rose, Hollyball, I can tell you, they want to see it settled under green for sure.
They absolutely do, and the troubles go when drivers give a little less. It was a 50-50 moment between Chabby Rose and Jacob Reed. They were both pushing for the same piece of track, and neither of them were willing to budge.
No, this is through the tunnel turn, Indianapolis, and just the slightest bit of contact to the left rear of Jacob Reed. It gets him loose, and from there he loses grip and into the wall.
It is as simple as that. There is Jacob Reed, not willing to budge there from the middle of the road. Naturally, he's going to go out. Hamilton Akabuzi and Gail Valero, both of them bystanders in that incident.
Yeah, and I want to give a shout out to Hamilton Akabuzi. I know he's a young gun out there, and he had run a terrific race up to this point. A shame to see him out from somebody else's wreck.
That's the way it goes, though. Sometimes you've just got to make sure you're staying out of trouble in a race like this. It is 60 laps long. It's not a 55-lap race out there. It is always going to be the sort of race that you have to be pretty much eyes on a swivel for. Like so Kalen Chin will be taking a huge boon of points out of this race here today, Joey, because look at him. He's in 5th place, and he's been so quiet all race.
Incredibly quiet. I mean, Justin Malillo is right behind Kalen Chin in that 6th place. He's up 10 positions. I'm looking. We have several more big movers. Charles Wimbley up 9. Also, Jan Hoffman back there in 12th, up 10 positions.
Yeah, it's been some great work for Jan Hoffman. He's been able to really charge up through the places, gain what is necessary as they've gone through. Some drivers have been able to profit off of this, none more so, Justin, than Eduardo Leo, who after his penalty now finds himself 13th.
Yeah, this gives Leo at least a shot to do something. Downside is 1 lap down regardless right now. That's going to be the major killer because it was a 32-second stop with that penalty sequence. So there's no chance to be able to get that lap back now. Now it's important to mention, this is a track known for a quickie yellow caution procedure, where right now, these drivers normally, in normal circumstances, have the 2-to-go signal, meaning the lead lap cars and the lap cars usually get the chance, if they choose, to pit on the same lap. That's seen a lot of the stock car side of the platform as well. So, we'll see if we get the confirmation at the stripe. It could get wild, to say the very least. Justin Malillo just said, when asking what would it take to win from 6th, chaos was the best way I think I could phrase it.
Well, he's got to reach that last lap. That's the key. He's got to have delayed chaos if he wants to win a race like this. Aaron Vasquez, your leader. Pablo Espes in 2nd. And Xabi Rose in 3rd. It is a all-Iberian 1, 2, 3 as it stands. Matt Hollibor, Kalen Chin, Justin Malillo, 4th, 5th, and 6th. Pretty much a continental affair. You've got 2 Americans and 1 Australian waiting. We'll look at the lights on the iRacing sedan pace car. That will be the key to what happens next. And you watch those lights, they go off at 2 laps to go, which means one thing and one thing only, Joey. It is effectively a green-white checker, except for the fact that it's a 1-lap shootout to decide who wins at the tricky triangle.
Yeah, it is a green checker out there, a sprint. It's going to be about 2.65 mile sprint, I guess, around Pocono here. And oh man, we saw trouble in turn 1 already on a restart. Man, things are going to get tight.
They're going to get tight. They're going to get aggressive. And because it is the last lap, there are going to be no cautions. So however it goes down, it goes down. This is pretty much high noon, draw out your pistols, and no rules apply.
I think that is the best way to describe this. Yes, almost like one-on-one shootout dodgeball out there, but I think this is a little bit more exciting.
You can see the drivers trying to weave, get some temperature back into the tyres because they have been running in excess now of 5 minutes without going at full speeds. They're losing that tyre temperature. Temperature is everything. They're all weaving. They're all trying to get a little bit of extra something, Joey.
You got to clean them up. You got to warm them up as much as you can. You're looking for any sort of advantage, and sometimes it's just even the mindset of being ready.
Vasquez knows at the front he's got the impossible challenge. He must stem the tide of drivers who want to take his victory away. He has earned everything he has possibly got, and now he has got one opportunity to hold this all back Pablo Espes is wanting to put himself in the W column for the first time this season. Young Chabi Rose thought he had a chance to break away. It didn't happen. Pace car dives in. 1 lap to decide it all. Green flag in the air. We're racing at Pocono.
It's Ross Espes trying to chase down Vasquez, but look at Kalen Chin already popping it 3 wide.
Trying to get it down on the low side. He'll wash out. Nowhere to go. There for one, Mr. Pablo Espes. Chabi Rose in second. Vasquez has got a big gap. Now heading to the tunnel turn. Does he have a chance to hold this all together here as they rush through? Look at how they close him down, though. It comes down to the final corner. Here comes the chance then. And here comes Hollyball out of nowhere to the inside with the power move. Vasquez holding around the outside. They've made contact. Hollyball holds on. What a mega move to win.
Matt Hollyball goes and passes 3 cars in 1 corner to steal away the win. Vasquez goes spinning, but holy smokes, the number 6, our winner.
The number 6 from 4th, exiting the tunnel turn, finds himself in victory lane with an incredible pass to get it done. Yes, there was contact, but Joey, that is about as racing instant as it gets. There was minimal margins between them.
Absolutely. Let's get a shot at this replay. Watch the white and green car. We're going to go with the triple draft, go by 2, 3 wide, and then send it down into turn 3 on our leader. Look, he actually clears our leader, but gives him space, pushes up just ever so slightly, a little bit of contact, but you're right, that's a racing incident.
That is incredible, and that's why Pocono is on this schedule. It creates moments like this. Look at the setup. He's been playing with a buffer zone all night. The moment he doesn't, look at the move. Sweeps over to that inside. Now once he turns in, he ever so slightly grabs that apron. I think that's what brings him up a little bit, Joey.
Yeah, it could have been. It could have just also been from the incredibly shallow entry, and I tell you what, Vasquez gave him room. He might have pinched the exit a little bit just to try to say, no, you're not going to get this move done. But ultimately, it was incredibly close racing from the 2.
Incredibly close racing, racing of the highest caliber. And Justin, you can't ask for anything better. The tricky triangle has done it. You've got yourself results. We know just how amazing that finish was.
An unbelievable finish, and a lot can be said, let's put it that way, with some of these drivers and the response to that finish. Matt Hollyball, an oval veteran, picks up the win in this road qualifying series. Pablo Espes gets through for second. Xavi Ross finishing in third. Justin Malillo, my goodness, he finally does well in a special event in a broadcast. He finishes 4th over Octavio Rondoletto, Chin, Martinez, Dance, Hoffman, and Velasquez, who was in control into the final corner, finishes inside the top 10. 11th spot, though, went to Charles Wembley. He picked up a meatball flag coming to the 1-to-go signal. Jacob Reed, back of the pack in 12th, also had mandatory damage repair, but was able to take the checkered. Galeo finishes 13th with Hamilton Akabuizi in 14th. Galvaleo needed points, did not get him 4 laps down in 15th. And Cubo Torres, after technical issues, 4 laps down at 16th. Darren Stevens, Seb Alexander, Nicholas Sudik, along with Jake Poe in the top 20. DNFs as well for Alex Gao and Takuma Ito did not have a great race. 46 laps down at the time of the checkered. As we look to see some of the reaction from the competitors, Joey, that was a wild, wild finish. And some are already saying you're battling in the road qualifying series with this Delara IRO1. How do you race when you're battling for the win?
Man, I think Pocono is just a fantastic racetrack. Whether you call it 3 turns or 5 turns, it doesn't matter. It is just producing some phenomenal racing, sedans, open wheels, it doesn't matter. And this Delara IRO1 just proved that the racing here at 260 miles an hour at Pocono is a ton of fun.
Now, there's a lot to be said when it comes to the finish, because Matt Hollyball, you expect him to do very well. He did very well. And he already apologized for the radio after the time of the caution flag, or rather the checker flag, it's worth noting. But already, a lot can be said with drivers racing for the points. when it comes to this series looking to make that cut line?
I think that Hollyball had one of the best strategies and one of the fastest cars all day long. Sure, he wasn't up at the front like Leo, Vazquez, or Espez, or even Roast the last half of the race who dominated it, but I really felt like Hollyball understood the oval side, the oval racing. He was taking different lines in the majority of the field, and then ultimately, when it mattered, the last lap, he showed everybody else what he's made of.
Yeah, it was an intriguing race to say the very least. We have some of the drivers now jumping on forward to discuss things, including Matt Hollyball himself. Comes away with a really interesting victory today, Matt. In fact, now joining us on the comms, Matt, how about that to pick up a victory in this series? Your response, you pick up the win from 4th starting spot.
Yeah, I'm going to be totally upfront with you guys. I haven't actually, I'm still going back to find the replay. I was struggling to get into the Discord first. Yeah, I haven't seen if I came up or if he came down on me there. I thought I left him a lane. Yeah, looking at that, I did indeed leave him a lane. I hate that for him because that was just a heck of a race. That was so much fun. Man, I can't thank Mike Hurley and Jason Brophy enough for just giving me help. And Nick Sudik was one of my teammates in here. Unfortunately, he got run over earlier in one of the yellows. That was some of the most entertaining racing I've had in this sim since the end of last year. I'm not going to go into details because I don't want to get us in trouble, but yeah.
Well, I will ask about this. It was the thought, too, of how many drivers would come in as oval specialists for this race. Bobby Zelensky at one point was actually joking in interviews a few weeks ago he might take a run. It ends up being you being the most high profile of those. How would you describe that battle in turn to figure out the race win leading up to those final yellows?
Honestly, so I was thinking it was going to end under yellow with me being P4, and but I figured, during that, I'm just going to burn fuel, just trying to lighten the car up. I didn't realize that this car had clutch wear or clutch heat, so I had no drive for most of that last yellow flag. I was concerned I was just going to be a roadblock for him, but beyond that, it was just trying to find the runs where they would come and trying to take them where they were, and just try not to annoy someone too much if they wouldn't let me in when I needed it. And it was I don't even remember the question. I'm shaking right now, guys.
Well, either way, you pick up a top split pro qualifier series victory, Matt. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Have a great rest of your day.
Matt Hollyball coming away with the victory today in GP Turn Racing iRacing qualifying series action here at Pocono. Obviously not the way you write that in the script in terms of what happened there down that final straightaway. But there's a lot that can be said now with today. For some drivers, potentially a drop, but there is still a lot of pressure to perform as a result, or especially for those who had issues in the first 3 races, because there's a track that has a lot of speed next on the schedule. It just so happens to be Spa.
Yes, a different form of speed. We're turning left and right at Spa next week, but I'm really looking at Vazquez, somebody who ran up front, who's going to be pretty disappointed after today's race, but he's also disappointed after last week's race. How do you rebound back from this? Remember, this is 7 races you got to do with only 1 drop week. You got to get back up on the horse. You can't let these things affect you.
We'll see how the drivers in turn rebound in some cases, or in some other forms, try and charge ahead with what we've seen on some of the road courses throughout the campaign. In turn, though, the pressure absolutely having to build for those when it comes to respect to the drop situation as well. Some drivers having 4, some with 3. Fenelloso, Munstel still with some solid points, but others like Ross definitely picking up points. Aspes especially needed a good run today. How does he build now after having contact in 2 of the 3 road courses so far early?
Yeah, it's a little bit difficult. The championship, like I said, 7 rounds, but Espez had a fantastic race today, did exactly what he needed to. And we were talking about the math earlier. Technically, it's not as many points you can gain from today, but the emotions, it can be what can you take away from today. And Pablo Espez probably taken away a lot.
A very critical race for some. A lot more critical action to go in this series. But in turn, thank you for tuning in for today's action here on FDF.GG. For today's coverage of the GP Turn Racing iRacing qualifying series from iRacing's virtual Pocono Raceway. For Jake Sperry, for Joey Atterbury, for our producer Zach Johnson, I'm Justin Prince saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your day or evening. You've been watching the GP Turn Racing iRacing qualifying series here from Pennsylvania.